Today we're looking at the new Heroes banner for Sacred Stones in Fire Emblem Heroes. I should note that COO 8 is most likely next month, so be prepared. For this banner we have Fae newcomers Forde and the Ballista from Sacred Stones. No, that is actually our new Fae Book 5 OC, the OG king of Nidavellir. He was the recent Tempest Trials boss. For alts, we're getting Ascended Amelia and Attuned Eirika. Her outfit is inspired by Ephraim, which we've totally never seen before. Really creative stuff. We'll talk about everyone's stats and skills, plus discuss general playstyle and build ideas. So, because Nidavellir is stealing a banner spot, we are getting an instant demote. Kyle will join Forde to complete the Sacred Stones Christmas Cav duo. No free copies because he's just that busted, and starting with this banner, he is available as a 3 to 4 star demote. Kyle's going to be a Lance Cavalier. For stats, he has 41 HP, 47 attack, 31 speed, 45 defense, and 21 res. Attack Super Boon will let Kyle tie for highest attack among all Lance Cavs, and he's pretty similar to the recent Summer Harid, just with some extra speed instead of defense or res. If you're looking for a pure tank free-to-play Lance Cav, then Nidavellir is still that dude. For old skills, Kyle has the best skill in the game, Reposition, totally why we aren't getting a free copy. He then has Attack and Defense Clash 3 and Attack and Defense Snag 3, both making their demote pool debuts. You can get these on some Grow units, but if you got extra Kyles, you can add Reposition as a bonus. For his weapon, Kyle has the Pursual Lance Plus, 14 might. If unit initiates or is near an ally, grant plus 5 attack and defense and a free follow-up attack. Following General Somerset's example, Kyle's weapon is the same as the Sacred Stone Summer Inheritables from 2 years ago. Corvo Saber was Leon's sword, Zero's axe is Seth's. Pursual Lance will complete the triangle, and it's the only inheritable besides Arcane Cheong to grant a free follow. Now, this is not a mind-blowing weapon, plus it's literally 2 years old. However, in a general sense, a free follow-up inheritable is still rare and still decent. You can use it on either phase, and you get a bonus attack and defense. It's alright for these slower units out there. For a general playstyle, Kyle can use his high base attack with his free follow-up weapon to do some okay damage. He then can stack defense, and attack and defense clash is a fine option for a Cavalier. You can use the snag debuff if you want, but Kyle doesn't have any special interactions with it. For his own combat, you can replace it with skills such as low attack and defense, guard 4, rash assault 4, or gambit. Odd defense wave 4 gives tempo if Kyle wins a defense check, which could be useful with something like Heavy Blade. If you were to upgrade to Arcane Cheong, this is just the better version of a free follow-up weapon. Slaying plus breath type cooldown would be nice with tempo, and if you add guard, then Kyle actually has a decent amount of cooldown perks. You could charge Bonfire or No Quarter in one action. Arcane Cheong is probably the best journalist weapon for Kyle if you don't plan on building speed. If you want to be aggressive, then Brave Attacks can give Kyle a 2-tap without worrying about no follow-up. Kumo Naginata has plus 4 stats, and it's on Ninja Sizel, so why not use it? Kyle won't be able to get DR Piercing without some support, and that includes no quarter activations. However, he can get a little risky thanks to Flow Guard 4. Normally, if a Brave Attacker can't finish the job in 2 hits, they may be in huge trouble since they could have charged the enemy special. Since Flow Guard 4 has Scowl though, it doesn't really matter. You could try to bank on Kyle's high base defense to tank a basic attack. If you run this with a speed focus, then Flow Guard also gives no follow-up, so Kyle could have quad potential, at least against slower units. You can even still get Kanto if you were to use Alarm C skills. Of course, you can always do Fledged Strike with a Brave Lance. For defensive builds, Smoke 4s or Breath of Life can definitely help in the enemy phase. Overall, Kyle isn't going to be a game-breaking free-to-play demote. He offers high attack and defense at base, and his speed is only going to be really threatening if you can get something like Frozen on the enemy. Mages will eat him alive, so player phasing seems a little more enticing than a general tank set. If you do get extra Kyles, he's a pretty nice fodder unit with that Clash 3. Our first actual banner unit is Forde. We somehow got Forde and Kyle without Ephraim, Seth, or Franz. Kinda sad. As a unit, Forde is a Sword Cavalier with 40 HP, 45 attack, 45 speed, 37 defense, and 18 resistance. Speed Super Boon is nice, and Forde is going for a somewhat higher defense focus among fast sword Cavs. For old skills, Forde has Luna, and the still pretty new Speed and Defense near Trace 4. For his unique weapon, Forde gets the Wild Wind Sword. Sorry, Kyle. This weapon has 16 might and inflicts -7 speed and defense debuffs on Forde every player enemy phase. Unusual, but it's for a reason. He has accelerated specials, and if above 25% HP, Forde gets +5 to all stats and built-in Unity. This means he gains double the amount of stats for each stat penalty, effectively offsetting it and giving Forde the advantage. In addition, Forde gets bonus true damage equal to the total penalties on him times 1.5. He then gets a slew of solid effects, full no follow-up, 40% DR for first attacks with an S, and then heals 7 HP after combat. Besides these standard speedy perks like no follow-up and percent DR, Forde will want more debuffs on him thanks to that built-in unity. The reason he gives himself debuffs at start of enemy phase as well is because if he attacks in the player phase, he's gonna lose the debuffs after fighting. That means you can't really use this for extra actions like with Gale Force. When the enemy phase starts though, Forde will self-debuff, but this is just kind of like a worse version of Grand Strategy, which keeps debuffs active going into both phases. If you can, Grand Strategy does stack with Unity, so it's a nice combo if you can avoid ploy 4. Speaking of Unity stacking, Forde also brings Speed and Defense Unity. It's been a while since the last new Unity A skill, but better late than never I guess. The Unity A skill requires you to be within 2 spaces of an ally and grants +5 speed and defense. Like Forde's sword, you gain bonus speed and defense equal to the current penalty on each stat times 2. Unity does not neutralize debuffs, so enemies can use them for their own skills. Numerically though, Unity can turn debuffs into big stat advantages. This is especially true when stacked with other Unity effects, as we mentioned. Forde's game plan is to abuse Unity. Not a lot of ways to self-debuff your team, but Forde gives himself -7 speed and defense. In combat, his sword will grant +14 speed and defense, and his A skill will grant another +14. 14 plus 14 is 28. Minus the actual 7 debuffs for a total net gain of 21 speed and defense. You add in the base +10 from his weapon and A skill. Forde can only stack speed and defense unity, and this requires him to stay near his team. Not terribly tough to do, but also not that synergistic with the 3 movement of Cavaliers. If Forde initiates too far, his A skill is useless, so you may want to replace it even if +14 or technically +19 speed and defense is quite a lot. Besides having a way to self-proc unity, Forde just has slaying, no follow-up, 40% DR, and some healing. Nothing really crazy, except he kinda does get a lot of true damage based on his total stat debuffs. With his own -7 speed and defense, that will give him 21 true damage. Pretty sizable boost. Forde has near trace 4, which means guaranteed constant 2 and another 7 true damage. If you want to stack Grand Strategy on Forde, his 18 res will not help if the enemies do have that ploy 4 skills. For some other skills, you could replace Unity with Excel for some flat DR. Flared Sparrow plus Assassin Strike adds instant damage on top of Forde's hefty true damage, plus he has no follow-up to double dip. You could use no follow-up for Desperation as well. Now, while Flow Guard form has no follow-up already, access to Scowl is insanely strong if you do not want to tank a special counter. Guard can work, but Scowl can only be countered by instant cooldown. In the C-slot, Forde could also make use of Odd Demon's Wave Forde's Temple, just like Kyle. If he initiates and doubles while getting hit back, he could proc Luna or no quartered guarantee. You could do Heavy Blade for cooldown, but Forde doesn't have guaranteed attack debuffs. Another C-skill can be Insight or Alarm if you want to shift Kanto into the another slot. Panic Smoke would be fun to further take advantages of stat differences. In general, Unity stat stacking is really strong, but you don't want to neutralize debuffs on 4. This means no Clash 4 skills. The tier 3s are okay though. Overall, Forde's a decent cav if you want some high defense with some speed, but outside of Unity stacking, he isn't really doing anything super new. His true damage can get pretty crazy though, so if Forde can get massively debuffed, then you kinda have to watch out. Our next banner unit is Nidavellir. Some random dude is a mythic, while the first king of an entire nation named after him is just a normal, permanent 5-star unit. Nidavellir is going to be a colorless bow cavalier with 40 HP, 45 attack, 47 speed, 27 defense, and 21 res. He has a speed super boon, although you may want that extra attack as well. He's a very offense-focused unit. For old skills, Nidavellir has Blazing Thunder and is another Verge of Death unit. He is indeed going full glass cannon. His unique ballista is the same from the Tempest Trials, 14 might and enables Kanto distance +1 for 4 turns. For 4 turns, Nidavellir also gains -3 cooldown, he grants -1 cooldown to allies within 2 spaces, and he gives the Hexblade status to himself and those allies. The ballista has accelerated specials, and when above 25% HP, Nidavellir gets +6 attack and speed and bonus attack and speed based on 20% of his speed from start of combat. He deals true damage equal to 20% speed, and this does apply to AoE specials. Last, Nidavellir gets 30% DR for first attacks with an S. So, if you were auto-battling the Tempest Trials like me, then you probably watched this dude tear apart your poor team if you weren't running some top-tier units. If you do not have Kanto control or you do not kill Nidavellir, he's kinda just gonna leave. He could legitimately kite people around if you don't have long-range attackers. In addition, Nidavellir can pre-charge any 4 cooldown specials. In this case, he self-charges his AoE Blazing Thunder. His AoE gets extra true damage based on speed, and to finish the job, Nidavellir has more attack and speed. He also gets Hexblade, adaptive damage, does apply to AoE specials, so high defense, low res units are in trouble. Along with long range AoE destruction, Nidavellir brings team support, -1 cooldown and hexblade support, quite nice. Any free cooldown without fighting is always a valuable asset. For Nidavellir's new inheritable B skill, he brings seal defense in res 3. The tier 4 dual stat seals try to inflict -9 of their stat debuffs at any time. If the enemy doesn't have any defense or res debuffs, you just inflict -9 in combat. If the enemy does have some type of defense or res debuff, then you lower the in combat ones, but you still try to reach a -9 total. In exchange though, you inflict guard on the foe. After combat, you will inflict -6 defense and res debuffs on the enemy if they survive. Unlike regular tier 4 seals, even if the enemy neutralizes your debuffs, this skill still inflicts -9 as a penalty. It's just trying to be consistent. Now, Nidavellir's game plan is pretty simple, kind of annoying. For 4 turns, he will charge any 4 cooldown special and provide his nearby allies with -1 cooldown with Hexblade. With his base kit, Nidavellir can prime his Blazing Thunder, he adds an extra true damage based on 20% speed, and he has Verge of Death to further boost flat attack and speed. He also denies attack and speed debuffs and panic, so consistently high stats. When Nidavellir uses his special, he has adaptive damage, and assuming he can finish the job with his basic attack, then he can just conto distance +1 to run away. For his basic, his seal defense and res adds some extra debuffs, and his weapon adds more attack and speed. He has 30% DR if he needs to take a hit, but Verge of Death drops his defense and res, and he has no other defensive perks. Not exactly the best idea to get hit, especially with full glass cannon base stats. To fill in his C skill, you can run inside attack and speed since it's more flat attack for the AoE. Odd speed wave 4 can grant no follow-up, maybe if you want to run desperation. With his insane Kanto and defense and res smoke, can set a Pathfinder to ferry allies around. Feud skills can disable support, although you may want to run Fatal Smoke 4, because Breath of Life 4 can offset AoE damage. For Sacred Seals, Life and Death further adds to Blazing Thunder, and Hardy Bearing negates Vantage, which may be relevant for this banner. You could do any attack and speed boosters, but those won't give more AoE damage besides the small speed scaling true damage. For other skills, you can run any AoE of your choosing. Deadeye offers DR piercing, but AoEs can bypass stuff like unpierceable DR since it's before combat starts. However, there's no DR piercing for AoE specials, so stuff like Stone Terrain or Goto's 80% AoE DR status is a major counter. If you want to replace Seal Defense and Res, Shield Defense and Res isn't too bad. Debuffs also contribute to AoE damage, so it's not the worst option, plus you further help out your team. Overall, Nidavellir doesn't bring any new mechanics to the AoE special spam game plan, but guaranteed charge for 4 turns, Hexblade, and insane counter range is pretty solid. I do think his cooldown support for allies alone makes him kind of valuable. Free cooldown without fighting should always be respected. Back to Sacred Stones, Amelia is getting her first ult, and it's an ascended one, kind of fitting for a trainee. Although funny, it's another armored Amelia. I'm not complaining though, because once again, Amelia gets the chain attached to her weapon. Such a strange detail on the GBA generals, because it makes no sense how it works, but the Ruler Coil is definitely preferred. For her second armored version, Amelia has 45 HP, 46 attack, 46 speed, 37 defense, and 33 res. She isn't breaking any individual stat records, but as a trainee, Amelia has extra base stats. 207 BST in fact, which does make Amelia the new highest BST unit in the game currently. She dethrones Valentine's Myrrh, it's 206, and since COL8 most likely takes us into Gen 9 BST, Amelia is going to be on par with the next gen base armors. On top of high base stats, Amelia is a very stat focused unit in general. For ult skills, Amelia brings Armored Beacon and Attack and Speed Far Save 3, trying to give Hector some competition here. Now Amelia has the Lance of Gradle, 16 might, and every turn, if within 2 spaces of an ally, Amelia buffs herself and those allies with +6 defense and res, a breath type cooldown status, and a low status to neutralize enemy field boss. For combat, Amelia has accelerated specials, and if within 3 spaces of an ally, she gets bonus stats equal to 5 plus the number of allies within 3 spaces times 3. Having 3 nearby allies will give the max +14 to all stats. In addition, Amelia neutralizes all stat penalties in combat. She gets 40% DR for first attacks with an S, and she heals 7 HP after combat. Amelia may have a 3-space range for her stat boost, but everything else in her kit requires allies within 2 spaces, so keep that in mind. She's a savior armor, so this shouldn't be a huge issue. Assuming you do keep grouped up, Amelia buffs her allies with defense and res field buffs, cooldown, and low statuses. For Amelia, she neutralizes both enemy field buffs and stat deals on herself. Very consistent in terms of stats. fitting for the trainee armor. Slaying will work nicely with the extra cooldown, plus 40% TR and 7 HP sustain will be good for continuous fighting. Nothing too crazy, although buffing armors aren't exactly that common. Now, Amelia seems to be taking lessons from Duso because her unique A skill is called Obsidian Tactics. If foe initiates or has more than 75% HP at start of combat, Amelia gets +9 to all stats. She then gets the following effects based on the value of X, with X being equal to the total number of positive status effects active on Amelia and allies within 2 spaces. If X is 1, Amelia inflicts attack and defense debuffs that scale with X. If it's 3 or greater, Amelia gets distant counter. If X is 5 or greater, Amelia gets half DR piercing on any attack. So, the reason Lance of Grado buffs allies is because Amelia needs those statuses for her A skill. If she can give 2 allies her cooldown and low statuses, and they're near Amelia, then with her own statuses, she would get 6 total bonuses. Not only does this grant all 3 effects, but this maxes out her attack and defense debuffs at -12 each. Besides the crazy stat advantages, getting a distant counter and partial DR piercing effects pretty awesome. If you don't have at least 3 statuses though, Amelia and her allies, then she can't use far save, so you do need to stay grouped up. Besides the first encounter, this plan is pretty screwed against someone like Nurgle, but it technically does avoid Loki's anti-status capabilities. If you were to get a 3rd status though, well, Loki's gonna do her thing. Now, Amelia will come with one more surprise, and that's a new inheritable B skill, Clever Fighter. It may sound familiar. It does 4 things. First, inflict -4 attack and speed on the foe. Second, grant full follow-up effects. Third, increase the speed difference needed for the foe to make a follow-up by 10. And fourth, if unit has more speed than the foe's speed, -10, then grant 10 flat DR during combat. As seen by the icon and the inheritance restrictions, Clever Fighter is a Savvy Fighter 4 side grade, although you could just argue it's an upgrade. They made one unit with Savvy Fighter 4 and decided that was enough. Unlike its predecessor, Clever Fighter now works at all times. If you want Black Knight to ward powder in with Emblem Celica, then you can use all these speed-focused effects. Instead of 40% DR from Savvy, Clever Fighter is going for that unpierceable 10 flat DR. It then adds a speed roll increase just in case your armor isn't fast enough. This will only help prevent an enemy double. Amelia needs to outspeed normally if you want her to follow up. Clever Fighter definitely isn't going to be a huge defensive tool against high burst damage, but if the enemy relies on speed and follow-ups, then it can be pretty annoying. Finally working on player phase is definitely a big upgrade though, if you want your armor to fight anytime. Ascended Amelia is going for that pure, I'm just gonna outstat you game plan. Her Lance and A skill can give +23 to all stats in combat. She gets +60 to turns field boss and inflicts up to -12 attack and defense on the foe. Clever Fighter and her far save add effectively another 8 speed. The low status negates enemy field boss while her Lance neutralizes debuffs. From her game plan, Amelia needs to start each turn near at least 2 allies so she can buff them up. If she saves an ally, her 2 allies plus herself will give 6 total statuses, which fully activates Obsidian Tactics. If you don't have at least 3, Amelia doesn't get distant counter, and you want at least 5 for that half DR pierce. Amelia has Slang plus Breath type cooldown to charge Armored Beacon in one action. She has 40% DR from her Lance and 10 flat DR from Clever Fighter with a speed roll increase to make it harder to follow up. If specials are ready, Armored Beacon adds another 40% unpierceable DR against ranged hits. If Amelia outspeeds, she has no follow-up to double and heals 7 HP after combat. Very susceptible to anti-status units, so be careful of that. In terms of other skills, well, I don't really see anything getting replaced here. Amelia has a full kit, although you could swap to near save if you wanted. If you do that, do need to switch to the near save versions of Armored Beacon as well. You could also swap to their res versions if you end up with higher res on your teams. If you did want to go pure tank, Hardy Fighter is still annoying, and Amelia has Slang plus cooldown to recharge. If you don't run Savior for whatever reason, Breath of Life 4 would be pretty amazing. For Sacred Seals, Hardy Bearing may be unnecessary since Amelia wants to be outspeeding. You could do Guard to maybe stop Brave hit specials. Otherwise, pick your stat booster of choice. Forms should be fully active if you do the 2 ally Savior Ball plan. In conclusion, Ascended Amelia is here to be an annoying fast armor unit. Is Clever Fighter going to be enough to survive though? Maybe, since Amelia has so many easy stat buffs in her kit and neutralizes the foe's field boss and debuffs. She even has support aspects in case she can't save you in. I wonder if the other Sacred Stones trainees are going to get some modern iterations. It'd be pretty cool to see what they do. Our last unit for today is Attuned Eirika. I pretty much expected this was happening or thought Emblem Eirika was going to be this year since they gave Ephraim a second ult before Eirika's last one. I guess, like Micaiah, these two aren't getting emblem forms for a good bit. Now, I thought maybe an Attuned Eirika could have dressed up like Seth since they refused to give him a 5-star ult. Well, I guess Intelligent Systems did not care that Brave Eirika already dressed up like Ephraim, so they just did that again. Awesome. I like Ephraim and Eirika, but Jesus Christ. Fashion choices aside, Attuned Eirika is going to be an axe infantry unit, at least that's new. For stats, she has 40 HP, 44 attack, 47 speed, 35 defense, and 27 res. Speed and res super boons. Speed is vital for this Eirika's kit. For old skills, Eirika has D bonus doubler, distant counter skill with bonus doubler as an add-on. She then has times pulse 4, and boy will Eirika want to keep that C skill. For her sisterly axe, this 16-mite weapon grants plus 6 attack and speed field pulse and the dodge status to Eirika and allies within 2 spaces. It has a built-in phantom speed effect, so plus 7 speed for speed comparisons only. It has accelerated specials, and if within 3 spaces of an ally, Eirika gets bonus stats equal to 5 plus the number of foes within 3 rows and 3 columns times 3, max of 14 for 3 foes in range. In addition, Eirika gets flat DR equal to 20% speed, she has half DR piercing on all attacks, and heals 7 HP on hit during combat. Eirika is once again going hard on the speed stacking. Her dual ult's dual skill was the first to introduce dodge as an actual keyword, so fittingly, Eirika grants dodge once again. Phantom speed helps in dodge's 40% DR speed check, and Eirika has plus 6 tech and speed field boost as well. In combat, she can get plus 14 to all stats, but I don't really like this condition because as you eliminate enemies, Eirika loses stats. She'll always get plus 8, but hey, 6 points potentially lost is kind of a lot. Now, for her unique B skill, Moonlit Bangle is back. I have zero idea what the Q stands for. This time, if the foe initiates and Eirika is within 4 spaces of an enemy, she gets Vantage. She inflicts minus 5 to attack, speed, and defense on the foe in combat. Eirika gets true damage equal to 25% of the foe's defense stats, and then before every attack, Eirika gets minus 1 instant cooldown. Finally, she has no guard, which is the only thing intact from previous iterations. So the big difference is that Eirika no longer gets massive true damage on special triggers. Instead, she's going to go for the consistent, almost Mumbo's worth of true damage every hit. To spice things up, Eirika has a Vantage effect that requires a speed check, kind of like Fallen Byleth or Speed Preempt. Phantom Speed will help with this check as well. Along with Times Pulse and Sling, Eirika gets more cooldown before she attacks. We'll discuss why shortly. This can counteract Scowl, however, Eirika's game plan requires this minus 1 cooldown, so Scowl still messes her up. If she can double, No Guard can still proc her special. If Scowl wasn't in play, the No Guard effect can set up double special procs instead. The reason for the extra instant cooldown is because of Eirika's new inheritable special, Gust. 3 cooldown special that boosts damage by 50% speed. If unit or foe special is ready or has trigger, and if unit is within 4 speed of the enemy, then reduce damage from the next attack by 40% during combat. Gust is inheritable by Sword, Lance, and Axe Infantry, same as Vital Astra. We finally get a 3 cooldown offensive special that scales with speed. Instead of Vital Astra's regular dodge DR that is pierceable, Gust has unpierceable DR, but you have a special is ready check on top of the speed check. This is like the armored specials, although it's kind of more like Dragon's Roar since works on melee and ranged hits. It just uses speed instead. Now, is Gust better than Godlike Reflexes? Gust is an offensive special that has a secondary % DR effect. GLR is a defensive special that has a secondary true damage effect. They kind of do similar things, with Gust having way more burst damage. Using one or the other mainly comes down to how skills interact with offensive or defensive specials. Gust is affected by Scowl, GLR is not. Slaying Gust does not work with Lagu's Friend, while Slaying GLR is best with Lagu's Friend. Gust works with Rally Spectrum, GLR does not. For what it's worth, some units like Legendary Nana can entirely disable defensive specials. The devs could just start bringing that effect out more, then GLR is literally useless. Now, compared to Vital Astra, Gust is on higher cooldown, but the unpierceable DR looks more and more important even with the extra conditions. Thanks to Emblem Marth, you could even have a double sling 1 cooldown Gust. I will say though that Vital Astra's dodge does work against AoE specials. Gust and GLR can't say the same. For Eirika's last inheritable skill, we have her Attuned X skill, Nelsie Disrupt Echo. As the name implies, this is literally just Nelsie Disrupt 3. Neutralize effects that prevent unit from counterattacking. This is not the tier 4 with percent DR, but this is an incredible skill to have while having an actual open B slot. Like its normal version, this is an infantry only skill. If you want to join Harmonic Altina, now anyone can technically have Nelsie Disrupt plus Vantage. For some like Eirika or even Fallen Byleth, you can even get Vantage while on full HP. While Guard Echo is a really good pick for tanking, if you want to fight back guaranteed, then this is the skill to run. If a squishy glass cannon cannot KO a Nelsie Disrupt user, then they're kinda doomed. If you pair this with Hardy Bearing, you counter sweep skills and Desperation while having an open B slot. Just don't use Hardy Bearing with Vantage like on this Eirika. With that said, unless you are an attuned or rearmed hero, please remember you can't run Nelsie Disrupt Echo if your unit plans to run a unique skill. Please don't make that mistake. Let's now tie Attuned Eirika's whole kit together. Each turn she gets attack and speed buffs plus dodge. She gains more stats if in line with more enemies. If a foe initiates, Eirika needs to be within 11 speed of them thanks to Phantom Speed, and she's going to get Vantage. She has Distant Bonus Dealer for Distant Counter, and Nelsie Disrupt Echo to ignore sweep effects. With Slaying Gust, it's on 2 cooldown. Times Pulse brings it down to 1. Before her Vantage attack, Moonlit Bangle Q gives -1 instant cooldown, so Eirika's Vantage hit is a Gust proc with half DR piercing and an extra 25% of the foe's defense stat. If the foe survives, they have to attack into 40% unpierceable DR and dodges regular 40% DR. Eirika mitigates this further with flat DR based on 20% speed. Thanks to no guard, this counterattack puts Gust back to 1 cooldown. When Eirika doubles, she gets another -1 cooldown, so a second Gust proc triggers. Some things to keep in mind: Eirika has 3 speed checks she needs to win. This kit kinda falls apart defensively if she loses. Hardy Bang will counter her Vantage. Gust also isn't going to trigger into Scout. Unless you run Emblem Marth or you get more cooldown, this could lose Eirika that one-hit Vantage KO cheese. If you need a second strike, Eirika is fast, but she does not have no follow-up. If possible, try to get Eirika deep into his field buffs for bonus doubler, and no follow-up as well. Amelia is a pretty excellent addition with her buff selection. For other skills, this is another pretty set-in-stone kit. If you want to proc Gust on the Vantage hit, you need Times Pulse or Emblem Marth for looping. If you want to run Godlike Reflexes, if I'm reading Moonlit Bangle correctly, it gives instant cooldown for any special. This means -1 cooldown before Vantage, and no guard guarantees another -1 cooldown. This would prepare Slaying GLR for Eirika. You're gonna lose Gust's burst damage though, so is it worth it? On this topic, there is some shenanigans if you want to run Miracle. You would have to use Emblem Marth. Gale Force is another potential option. Eirika doesn't need to proc an offensive special for any aspect of her kit anymore. This leaves a lot of room for experimenting. For some other skills, you could do Defense Res Pledge or Oath 4 to fit Bonus Doubler. You could run Bonus Doubler as a Sacred Seal. No Follow-Up or Infantry No Follow 4 would be pretty decent. Attack and Defense Finish 3 can give a decent amount of damage for Eirika's Vantage Gust cheese, but I do think you want to have as much speed as possible. In the A slot, if you want to go melee only, Finish 4 or Excel would be fun alternatives. For the most part though, Attuned Eirika is ready to roll. Distant Counter, Vantage, Pre-Charge Specials, and Nelsie Disrupt, good lord. That's going to be it for this banner breakdown. If you don't plan to summon, the accompanying Grand Hero battle is going to be for Glenn. I believe that will finally complete the Great Old Generals, and Glenn got a unique sword, so we actually have something interesting to talk about. Thank you for watching this video though. Good luck on your summons, and I will see you in the next one.